Hello, my name is Mr. Sprague, and this is our class's first attempt at producing a combined video project. Today we're going to look at the neuron and the function of its parts.
Plasticity. Different types of plasticity is structural, functional, and network. What is plasticity? The quality of being easily shaped or molded, ability for the brain to adapt or change over time by creating new neurons and building new networks. Problems that it causes is you could have cell death due to lack of blood in your brain. It causes disabilities over a period of time. If you hit your head, it can cause the cells not to receive messages after you heal. 3 interesting facts is the ability to change the brain during a lifetime. It makes the new pathways that didn't exist. It works the strongest when we're younger. It causes it to flow or change shape permanently when subjected to stress. It also causes permanent damage when you have a stroke. Without this, not human brains would not be able to develop all the way.
Plasticity. A visual slide. It helps to connect with genetic mutations in response to environmental cues, or rewire itself or modify its connections. My paragraph slide. Helps rewire or put together connections. Without change, without genetic mutations, is responsible to environmental cues. Plastic wrap is an example of plasticity. After stretch, it stays stretched. Most materials have an amount of force or pressure for which they deform statistically. If more forces or pressure is applied, then the plastic's deformation. Problem slide. In brittle materials such as rock, concrete, and bone, plasticity is caused by slip of micro cracks. In cellular materials such as lipid foams or biological tissue, plasticity is mainly a consequence of bubble or cell rearrangements. 3 interesting facts. Ability to retain shape by pressure deformation. Plasticity is available to the brain to change and adapt to new information. It's strongly believed that once we hit 25, the brain's plasticity solidifies.
My name is Kaylin Christian, and I'm going to be telling you about the cell body of a neuron. This is the cell body setup. What is the cell body of a neuron? The cell body, also known as a soma, is the core section of a neuron. The cell body contains genetic information, maintains neuron structure, and provides energy to drive activities. Like other cell bodies, a neuron soma contains a nucleus and specialized organelles. What would happen if a cell body stopped functioning? The brain would have a total breakdown. A stroke is one example of a condition when communication between nerve cells breaks down. Microfailures in the brain functioning also occur in conditions such as a stroke. Some 3 facts about the cell body of a neuron is the cell body contains the nucleus and cytoplasm. The second, the cell body is also called a soma or a perichron. 3, a neuron cell body can live forever.
The dendrite. The dendrite is a neuron's often bushy branching extensions that receive and integrate messages, conducting impulses toward the cell. It receives messages from other cells. If the dendrite was to be damaged, it would lose input connections. The wounded neuron also becomes more excitable. The neuron becomes more likely to fire signals down its shortened axon when stimulated to do so by other neurons. An injury to the dendrite can also stop the signals transmitted to and from the brain, causing muscles to not work properly or loss of feeling in an injured area. 3 interesting facts. Raymond K. Joule discovered the dendrite. A dendrite can double its length in less than 2 weeks by about 0.003 inches, and the dendrite is a parabolic shape.
Kaylin.
The axon. Each neuron in your brain has one long cable that snakes away from the main part of the cell. This cable, several times thinner than a human hair, is called an axon, and it is where electrical impulses from the neuron travel away to be received by other neurons. The axon, also called nerve fiber, is a portion of a nerve cell that carries nerves impulses away from the cell body. A neuron typically has one axon that connects it with other neurons or with muscle or gland cells. Some axons may be quite long, reaching, for example, from the spinal cord down to a toe. Most axons of vertebrates are enclosed in a myelin sheath, which increases the speed of impulse transmission. Some large axons may transmit impulses at speeds up to 90 meters per second. An axon can be up to a meter long. In some neurons, axons are covered with a thin layer of fat called myelin, which acts as an insulator. It helps transmit nerve signals or impulses down a long axon. Axons functionally link the somatodendritic compartment to synaptic terminals. Structurally and functionally diverse, they accomplish a central role in determining the delays and reliability in which neuronal assemblies communicate by combining their active and passive biophysical properties. They ensure a plethora of physiological computations.
The myelin sheath. The myelin sheath is a protective layer around the nerves. It is used to protect the nerves from stray electrical impulses and to speedily send the nerve zone signals through the axon. The myelin sheath is composed of proteins and lipids and has a fatty white layer surrounding the axons. Degradation of the myelin sheath can be very dangerous for an organism. When the myelin sheath deteriorates, it can be very dangerous. Nerves lacking a protective layer get their signals mixed with other nerves, preventing basic functions and leading to conditions such as blindness. In serious conditions, loss of the myelin sheath can lead to total paralysis and death. What the myelin sheath covers/protects. Interesting facts. MS is a disease in which the myelin sheath deteriorates. Alzheimer's could possibly be caused by demyelination in old age. Myelin is commonly found throughout the spinal cord.
The myelin sheath. The myelin sheath is an insulating layer that forms itself around the nerves. It also wraps around the brain and spinal cord. The sheath is made up of protein and fatty substances. It allows electrical impulses to transmit quickly and affect the nerve cells. If it is damaged, then the nerves slow down. My 3 interesting facts. The sheath is approximately 1 millimeter long. Our brains naturally generate new myelin sheaths, and most foods like peppers, tomatoes, berries, broccoli, vegetables make up the myelin sheath. And problems with the sheath. If it is damaged, then it causes neurological problems, nerve impulse, optic nerves problems, weakness in arms and legs, loss of bladder control. Sometimes your immune system attacks the sheath or the cells that maintain it.
Glial cells. My words are missing. My words are missing. Of this side. Yep, they're missing that one.
With this one.
Probable problems. If these cells get damaged or affected by the disease, it can cause problems in the nervous system. Dysfunction in glial cells associates with a variety of brain diseases and Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism, and other psychiatric disorders.
The terminal branches of the axon. The terminal branches
The terminal branches branch out from the transmitter, the axon, as displayed in the image below. You can see how many terminal branches the axon can have. What do the terminal branches do? The terminal branches of an axon change electrical impulses or action potentials with a neuron into chemical messages in the form of neurotransmitters. All the branches have a synaptic terminal on the tip. They're like roots of a tree. They split into smaller extensions as they branch out. The axon terminal refers to the axon endings that are somewhat enlarged and often club-shaped. They are part of a nerve cell that makes synaptic connections with another nerve cell or with effector cell. What are some possible problems the terminal branch could have? When the terminal branches are damaged, it's more than likely means that the axon is damaged, meaning it sends out signals to the surrounding tissue to be cleaned up, triggering the release of proteins that speeds up the degeneration of the axon and the terminal branches. The damaged parts will die after this process. This will more than likely create nerve damage. The terminal branches are only 1.0 times 0.6 to 0.8 microns big. The axon terminal might be considered as being in a permanent and ongoing state of growth. There are a minimum of 4 terminal branches.
The synapse. Synapse is the junction between the axon tip of the sending neuron and the dendrite or cell body of the receiving neuron. The tiny gap is the synaptic gap or the synaptic cleft. When synapses fail, communication between the synapses and neurons can fail and may cause critical impairment information processes. Synapse failure in the brain can underlie many neurodivergent diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. One singular neuron contains thousands of synapses. In one specific type of neuron, it can contain up to many as 100,000 synapses. The synapses are part of the circuit that connects to sensory organs like the senses that detect pain or touch. Synapse can cause someone to stop breathing correctly if they stop functioning. Oh, that's not mine. Yeah, I'm missing one.
Neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the types of chemical structures that are in our body. They all play key roles in our body. You have adrenaline, noradrenaline, dopamine, serotonin, ambrogetic acid, acetylcholine, glutamate, and endorphins. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers our bodies can't live without. They carry signals from one neuron to the next target cell. Neurotransmitters manage automatic responses such as heart rate and breathing. They also have psychological functions like managing, learning, and our moods. We have 7 main neurotransmitters. They are acetylcholine, dopamine, GABA, glutamate, histamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Problems with neurotransmitters. An imbalance of neurotransmitters can cause anxiety, panic attacks, depression, chronic pain, migraine headaches, eating disorders, and can lead to early death. 3 interesting facts. Our body can't function without neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters control our sleep cycles, digestion, appetite, and our muscle movement. Scientists know of at least 100 transmitters and say there's a lot more to discover.
Hey, I got reuptake. How do I switch slides on this?
No, that way. Sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come across.
You're fine.
And if your words aren't there, fill them in the best you can.
This is a picture of reuptake and you know how it works. And, you know, if you look at the picture, there's all these arrows that point to the things and you can do a real good job of that. Reuptake is what absorbs the serotonin after it's released and it gives your body, like, you know, the thing so it can suck it back up and you're not always feeling like that. And then some of the things that could go wrong is that if it works a little too hard, you know, you will end up being depressed, having overall feelings of numbness and things like that. 3 interesting facts. Well, I can only remember one, but one of them is that cocaine is one of these things that blocks a reuptaker. So, you know, have fun.
Okay, my project's on acetylcholine. What is acetylcholine? It is a neurotransmitter or a type of chemical messenger. It plays a vital role in the central and peripheral nervous system. It is important for muscle control, autonomic body functions, and in learning, memory, and attention. For example, a brain might send out a signal to move your left leg. This is an example of acetylcholine. An arriving action potential depolarizes the synaptic knob. Calcium ions enter the cytoplasm, and after a brief delay, ACH is released through the exocytosis of synaptic vessels. ACH binds to sodium channel receptors on the postsynaptic membrane, producing a graded depolarization. Depolarization ends as ACH is broken down into acetate and cycloine by ACHE. The synaptic knob reabsorbs cycloine from the synaptic cleft and uses it to synthesize new molecules of ACH. What would happen if the muscles cannot contract? They may include weakness in the arms, legs, hands, fingers, or necks. Interesting facts. It was the first neurotransmitter to be discovered, and it has been heavily studied. It is the most abundant neurotransmitter, and it is present in the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system.
Serotonin. Serotonin chemicals travel through the brain and in the stomach and shown in different ways. What is serotonin? Serotonin is a chemical that carries messages between the nerve cells in the brain and throughout the body. Serotonin controls some of the major functions in the body. It affects mood, sleep, digestion, nausea, and sexual desire. Serotonin is a monoamine neurotransmitter. Serotonin is also known as 5-hydroxytryptamine. Problems with serotonin. If there is not enough serotonin produced in the body, there can be an increased risk of depression, anxiety, or mania. These are serious issues that can become very serious very fast. To produce more serotonin, you need to exercise on the regular and eat right. Interesting facts. Sometimes called the happy chemical, serotonin is mainly produced in the brainstem, and up to 90% of serotonin is found in the blood, platelets, and digestive tract.
The scoop on neurotransmitters. What are neurotransmitters? Neurotransmitters are your body's chemical messengers that your body can't function without. They carry chemical signals, messages from one nerve cell across the space to the next nerve cell, muscle, or gland cell. They're located in a part of the neuron called the axon terminal. After they deliver their message, the molecules must be cleared from the synaptic cleft. They do this in one of three ways. They fade away, they're reabsorbed and reused by the nerve cell that released it, or they're broken down by enzymes within the synapse, so it can't be recognized or bind to the receptor cell. The problem with neurotransmitters. A neurotransmitter imbalance can cause depression, anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, irritable bowel, hormone dysfunction, eating disorders, fibromyalgia, obsessions, compulsions, adrenal dysfunction, chronic pain, migraine headaches, and even early death. 3 interesting facts about neurotransmitters. Otto Lowy, Australian scientist, discovered the first neurotransmitter in 1921. The first neurotransmitter to be discovered is acetylcholine. The size of neurotransmitters may vary. Normally they would size around 0.5 to 5 nanometers.
Dopamine. What is dopamine? Dopamine is a chemical released into the brain that makes you feel good. Having the right amount of dopamine is important for your body and your brain. That helps nerve cells send messages to each other. If your dopamine levels are incorrect, it could cause neurological diseases. This is the picture pointing to the thing. Dopamine problems. Low levels of dopamine have been linked to Parkinson's disease, restless leg syndrome, and depression. Having low levels can cause you to be moody, feel tired, unmotivated, and many other symptoms. Some problems that have been linked to having low levels are mental illness, stress, not having enough sleep, drug abuse, and obesity. Interesting facts about dopamine. Dopamine is a type of neurotransmitter and hormone. Plays an important role in many body functions such as movement, memory, and motion. Dopamine is like the brain's reward that is triggered from things that it likes, also known as the dopamine rush.
Norepinephrine. What is norepinephrine? It's a type of neurotransmitter hormone. It helps transmit nerve signals across nerve endings to another nerve, muscle, or gland cell. It's released from the adrenal glands, part of your sympathetic nervous system, which is basically your fight or flight. Increases alertness, arousal, and attention. It constricts blood vessels, helps maintain blood pressure in times of stress, and affects sleep-wake cycle, mood, and memory. Problems occurring from norepinephrine. Low levels can cause anxiety, depression, ADHD, headaches, memories, sleeping issues, hypotension, hypoglycemia, and high levels can cause hypertension, irregular heartbeat, excessive sweating, cold or pale skin, severe headaches, nervous feelings or jitters, and adrenal gland tumors. Some interesting facts include you can boost norepinephrine levels naturally by exercising regularly, getting a proper amount of sleep, eating healthy, listening to music, or doing things that simply just bring you joy. It can be used as a medication to increase or maintain blood pressure for short-term serious health situations. It can also be referred to as noradrenaline. Visuals, I have a picture of the adrenal glands where norepinephrine is released from, and above is norepinephrine packaged as a medicine, and then a picture that shows what normal, low, and high levels of norepinephrine can look like.
Glutamate. Glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter with several types of receptors found throughout the central nervous system, and its metabolism is important to maintain optimal levels with extracellular space. It is important to memory, cognition, and mood regulation. Problems of glutamate. Glutamate levels must be controlled tightly. Any imbalance, whether too much or too little, can compromise nerve health and communication and can lead to major cell damage and death. And a lot of other major health problems. Three fun facts about glutamate. Glutamate is the purest taste of umami, this fifth basic taste. Glutamate is an amino acid. It can also be an amino acid, and glutamate is important for healthy metabolism.
GABA. GABA is a type of neurotransmitter that blocks communication between nerve cells in the brain. GABA can boost mood and relax the nervous system. GABA is an approved supplement by the FDA, but it is treated like a food. This means that the makers of the supplements don't have to show the safeness and effectiveness of their product. 3 interesting facts. GABA can be found in foods such as spinach, broccoli, and sweet potatoes. GABA has been proven to relieve anxiety, improve sleep, and treat ADHD. GABA may be a good weightlifting supplement because it burns fat and increases growth of lean muscle. This is the chemical formula of GABA, a picture of the neurotransmitter, which is what GABA is. Problems with GABA. Low levels of GABA can lead to problems such as anxiety or mood disorders, epilepsy, and chronic pain. The downside to GABA is that there is not much research about it. You should probably not take it as a supplement if you have an existing medical condition.
What are endorphins? Endorphins are defined as a group of hormones secreted within the brain and the nervous system which serves many physiological functions. They relieve pain and release chemicals that give a feeling of well-being. The runner's high is produced off endorphins. Endorphins can also be known as endogenous opioids, and they are a protein that act as a neurotransmitter. If you don't have enough endorphins, then it can lead to depression, aches, mood swings, pain, and addiction. Some people get addicted to endorphins, which causes them to seek activity to produce endorphins. 3 interesting facts are the word endorphins come from endogenous, which means produced from the body, and morphine, which is an opiate pain reliever. Endorphins are included in the 4 happy chemicals produced by the body. There are about 20 different types of endorphins that can be produced by our bodies. The bottom right corner is the chemical compound for endorphins. And our brain, it produces endorphins while exercising. The picture shows that
endorphins are included in the happy chemical group.
This project was on Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. The conditions summarized. The first picture shows what happens in a brain affected by Alzheimer's. Plaque builds up and the neurons develop tangles. In the second picture, it shows what happens in a brain, or the third picture, it shows what happens in a brain with Parkinson's disease. A neuron affected by Parkinson's is unable to send the normal amount of dopamine to a receptor, and dopamine influences movement and many other things, causing the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Both are progressive mental diseases that don't really have a cure. Explaining the diseases. Parkinson's disease is a disorder which causes nerve damage of the central nervous system, specifically the myelin sheath of neurons. This therefore causes the other symptoms of the disease. Nerves become unable to carry a sufficient amount of dopamine to receptors, since dopamine influences movement, learning, etc. This causes the symptoms of the disease. Alzheimer's disease is a common type of dementia. It is a progressive disease that doesn't necessarily damage the myelin sheath, but is a result of it rather. Myelin sheath damage in neurons causes cognitive decline and is also a result of aging, so that's why Alzheimer's is more common in elderly people. Symptoms and issues. Alzheimer's symptoms include confusion with time and location, difficulty with words, memory loss, misplacing items, difficulty solving problems, and others. Parkinson's symptoms include slow or rigid movement, tremors, frequent falls, and slow reaction time, and more. 3 interesting facts about these diseases. They are both uncurable diseases. As for those with Parkinson's, no two people have the same exact symptoms. More than 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's in 2020, and by 2050, the number is predicted to rise to 13 million.
Parkinson's, a brain disorder that causes unintended or uncontrollable movements such as shaking, stiffness, and difficulty with balance and coordination. There's an example. What causes Parkinson's? Parkinson's disease is caused by a loss of nerve cell in the part of the brain called the substance nigra. Nerve cells in the part of the brain are responsible for producing a chemical known as dopamine. The main risk factor is age, because Parkinson's is most found in adults over the age of 50, although diagnosis can occur in much younger people. Parkinson's symptoms: writing changes, speech changes, loss of automatic movement, impaired posture and balance, rigid muscles, slowed movement, tremor.
Alzheimer's. What is Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's disease, also called senile dementia, is a disease that causes the cells to destroy themselves, affecting the memory and other important mental functions to progressively get worse. The symptoms of Alzheimer's include increased memory loss and confusion, inability to learn new things, and difficulty with language and problems with reading, writing, and working with numbers. Some interesting facts about Alzheimer's. More than 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. In 2025, approximately 13 million Americans will be living with it. It can cause ventricles in the brain to become bigger because of the shrinkage of different parts of the brain, like the cerebral cortex. Seniors, approximately 1 in 3 seniors, dies with Alzheimer's or another type of dementia.
All right, so if you've been watching and paying attention, all the parts of the neuron that you need to know about were mentioned. Also, all the problems that can happen when certain parts of the neuron aren't working were also mentioned as well. Make sure to study this for your quiz, which is Tuesday, But as a class, this is our first video. So everybody, give it a loud cheer. All right, good job, guys.